This week's movie is a neon-soaked cross between The Crow and The Exorcist. It's Retribution, which is a 1987 American horror film directed and written by Guy Magar. One of those movies I have picked up over the years purely based on the box art, the synopsis, which reads, "A murder victim inhabits the body of a suicidal man as he attempts to take his own life. While his host sleeps, the murdered man takes over his body to exact revenge on the gangsters responsible for his own death." And the fact that compared to a lot of straight-to-VHS 80s films I own, it actually has semi-decent reviews. Plus the poster is awesome. I had, however, never gotten around to watching it, so it's a rare case of a movie I'm going entirely blind into before covering it for this channel. After watching it, am I ever going to watch it again? No, probably not. And I feel bad almost saying that, because compared to a lot of movies that I own and love and have watched multiple times, this is almost a proper movie, but I just didn't enjoy it because of the following reasons. This, for an 80s horror at 108 minutes long, is on the lengthy side to start with. And I'm not going to lie, the first 30 minutes I was thinking, will anything much ever happen? With the first half hour or so being largely George attempting suicide, then receiving some therapy, suffering a few nightmares, and then finally being released from hospital, where he starts painting. I absolutely do not mind slow build-ups if they feel like they are building towards something, but this never really did. In fact, I was just about to turn this off and give it up as a bad job when the first kill happens literally out of nowhere. Now, these are the stars of the show, so more about them later on. Then we go straight back to the human interest side of the story, of George seemingly having loads of friends and this absolutely banging 80s babe who wants to be his girlfriend for some inexplicable reason. Which is the problem with these sections of the film. They are neither very interesting or make much sense. George, we are led to believe, is such a hopeless dweeb and a loser that he felt that there was no way out of it other than to commit suicide. Those are his own words, in fact. He says he had nothing to live for, so he had to kill himself, or words to that effect, during therapy. Then we find out not only is he a super talented artist who everyone loves, and is seemingly friends with, he's also got the most 80s babe imaginable, desperate to get into his pants. No offense to Dennis Lipscomb's George, but he's not just out of Suzanne Snyder's Angels League. He's playing a goddamn different, way less popular sport. There's never any indication at all as to why any of the many people, which amounts to literally everyone in this film, who love George would have a single reason to. George just isn't a likeable or interesting enough character to carry this off. He is written and portrayed as an unlovable loser who inhabits a totally different person's life, seemingly. This also takes up the first 90 minutes of the runtime, with two really brief but excellent kill scenes breaking it up, and some scenes that reveal he has been possessed by a murdered gangster, with the last 18 minutes being the best kill scene, followed by a really repetitive finale of George screaming, "No more!" then a fairly creepy sequel bait ending. In other words, there were long stretches of this where I was so bored I was checking the clock to see how long we had to the end, or how long it was since we had had a possession scene, which was in both cases always too long. Personally, I would cut this down to probably a 75 or 80 minute runtime, so that you get a possession scene, which are by far the best bits, every 15 minutes or so, and it would be a way more enjoyable film for me. Probably one I'd strongly recommend people watch, instead of a film where you get two amazing scenes in the first 90 minutes, followed by a climax which has all the ingredients to be amazing but kind of overstays its welcome, because it should have been peppered throughout the runtime. Now, all that being said, I can absolutely see why others might love this, because there are a lot of things here that I'd usually rave about. First off, Dennis Lipscomb is perfectly cast as the affable dweeb George. He manages to nail the sad, lonely loser and the over-the-top possessed demonic versions of the character perfectly. He flips between the two with seemingly effortless ease, and it's one of the better performances you are likely to see in a low-budget 80s horror. The supporting cast of Suzanne Snyder and Leslie Wing as his somewhat girlfriend and therapist respectively, also do a great job selling their genuine yet probably in reality inexplicable levels of care and love for George in an almost believable way. The lighting and cinematography are also standouts and are so good I'd usually forgive a litany of other faults for it. Being a mixture of neon greens and reds in a smoke-filled atmosphere, the kind of aesthetic you only really get from 80s horror shot on film, it looks absolutely glorious and I'm here for it all day long, especially when we get the demonic possession and kill scenes. These somehow manage to take it up another notch and are just wonderfully lit and shot. As for the kill scenes, they are everything I look for in an 80s horror, gore-filled, creepily inventive, and realised with some top-notch practical effects. They are undoubtedly the star turn here, and for anyone who wants to go watch this, I won't spoil them by showing them in great detail. Let's just say they are well worth a watch. There's just nowhere near enough of them to really make up for the long stretches of uninteresting human interest sections for me. So that was Retribution, a film I'll probably never watch again, but can see why lots of people love it. If I was you though, I'd save yourself 100 minutes and just watch a compilation of all the kills on YouTube if you can find one. Well, if you enjoyed that, like, comment and subscribe, because next week I'm covering I Come in Peace, otherwise known as Dark Angel. You know a movie is quality when it has numerous names and stars Dolph Lundgren.